Well, hello there, you amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. And look who else is looking amazing and wonderful as we look at Mrs. Harsh on the new Flexi Spot reclining chair. That's it, chilling, reading her book. And if you, that's it, you guys on Black Friday would like to know how to get this chair yourself, just log on to Amazon, scroll Flexi Spot store, search Flexi Spot store, and you can go and pick this chair yourself. It's nice. For those of you who saw the house tour, you will remember the large reclining chair that I had. Well, we wanted something for Christmas, just to put in a corner, a little reading nook that we could use over Christmas, and fantastic price. Value for money wise, you can't beat it. But anyway, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes today, as we've got a fair bit to go to. You see the cat just chilling there in the background? Hello, cat. That's it. As long as she's sitting there, she ain't fucking anything up, is she? Anyway, how are you guys doing? Like I say, you're looking absolutely amazing today. And we are talking about this because we've obviously got Tyler Robinson awaiting his trial. We've got preliminary hearing, is it in January now? And there's been a bit of backlash. Like, I was going to go through some court documents. I am going to go through the court documents, but there's so many of them. And I know that the court docs can be a bit boring. And this kind of sums it up nicely. You got Governor Cox question on accusations of prejudicing accused assassin Tyler Robinson's case. Says Provo, Utah, attorneys for Tyler Robinson accused of assassinating conservative activist Charlie Kirk are preparing to file a motion to modify the judge's existing publicity order in the case that could limit what is said and by whom. Which is bad, isn't it? Look, do you think Tyler Robinson can receive an impartial trial in Utah? Yes, the system can say neutral, 37%. Hard to avoid bias after public comments, 42%. And it says only if the case moves jurisdictions, which I don't think you could move this case anywhere and not have problems. It says Robinson's defence team argues that public statements by political leaders and law enforcement officials have prejudices Robinson's right to a fair trial. The gag order, they contend, should further restrict comments from federal, state and local officials, some of whom are attorneys. Governor Spencer Cox checks both boxes. 2 days after the shooting, President Donald Trump said on cable news, "I think with a high degree of certainty we have him in custody," and stated, "I hope he is going to be found guilty and I hope he gets the death penalty," which is huge, bearing in mind that President Trump is indeed the president, and he comes out pre-trial and says, yes, we've got him, this is the guy that did it, let's shoot him. Which, it's not a great look. Robinson was arrested on September 12th after his family helped arrange his capture in Washington County. Robinson's lead defense attorney, Kathy Nestor, wrote that Government Cox began his press conference dramatically with the words, "We got him." I like how this is worded in it as well, saying his family helped arrange his capture. Well, apparently he just fucking handed himself in. But Government Cox announced the arrest and stated, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, we got him." He later returned to the podium to say more. "There is one person responsible for what happened here, and that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. This here, from what we've learned, I believe is one of the biggest pieces of shit lies that we have ever been told in any case whatsoever. One person responsible, and he is now in custody and will be charged soon." FBI Director Kash Patel went on national television confirming DNA evidence linked Robinson to the towel wrapped around the firearm and a screwdriver. Nestor claims the statements made by officials, including President Trump and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, have tainted the judicial process, which I agree with. Bondi labelled Robinson a horrible human being and emphasised that execution by firing squad was still an option in Utah. The filing also includes remarks made by the Utah County Attorney, Utah County Sheriff and Undersheriff. says here, look, the governor has said that they want to seek the death penalty, which is very real in Utah, and they still have the firing squad in Utah, and that as federal prosecutors, we will look to see if we have federal charges as well, and of course, if we do, we will also indict and work hand in hand with the state to ensure this horrible human being faces the maximum extent of the law. In a court file, and Robinson's defense team wrote, even before Mr. Robinson's first court appearance, politicians, federal and state law enforcement officers, and the lead prosecution attorney in this case publicly offered their opinions about Mr. Robinson, the details of the investigation, including an alleged confession, and even specific items of evidence and forensic tests that have not yet been deemed admissible at trial. 2 News Investigates asked Governor Cox about the claims made by Robinson's defense team and about his previous comments about the suspect during the governor's monthly news conference at PBS Utah. Wendy Holloran, my colleague Natalie Waddus asked you in September the following question, quote, there's been some concerns raised around discussion of the Robinson case in national media. Are you concerned about prejudicing that case at all? You said no concerns at all, none whatsoever. No, because the system's in place to do a job and it's fucking doing it, regardless of whether the guy's guilty or not. In response to concerns about prejudicial statements, Governor Cox expressed no worries about the impact on the trial's fairness, which is utter shite. 2 News Investigates asked Governor Cox, as a law professional yourself, respectfully, how do you reconcile those statements even months before the commencement of a trial? Would you consider that premature? The governor responded by saying, no. Wendy Holloran, second question for you. Do you believe prejudicial public statements by government officials in any way jeopardize the state's ability to allow for a fair and impartial trial by comparison to other cases, other persons accused of serious crimes, and what precisely is the apparent need to offer up comments of guilt in this particular case pre-trial? Fantastic question. Let's listen to that again. What precisely is the apparent need to offer up comments of guilt in this particular case pre-trial? Governor Cox said, I don't have any concerns. No, yeah, and then moved on to another reporter's question because you couldn't answer that. Why would you be pushing that? I'll tell you why. Because this is preordained. The outcome is preordained. Robinson defense plans to file a motion to expand the gag order, invoking Utah rule of Professional Conduct 3.8, which is set of ethical and professional standards for attorneys licensed to practice in Utah. It says the motion will be submitted ahead of Robinson's hearing schedule for January 16th and 30th, 2026. Here is the footnote where they lay out their intentions as it pertains to what they will soon be filing. As his motion will explain, it is Mr. Robinson's view that the order should go further to limit the public statements and may be made by federal, state and local government officials, some of whom are attorneys and some of whom are not, connected with the state and federal investigations of the conduct alleged against Mr. Robinson and their agents. His motion will also ask the court to amend the order by explicitly invoking Utah Rule of Professional Conduct 3.8, which established special responsibilities of a prosecutor. With respect to a broader group of attorneys and their agents, the publicity order issued on September 16, 2025 does not invoke Rule 3.8, Nestor wrote. Reached by email, Nestor said they are unable to comment. On November 6, Deputy Utah County Attorneys Chris Ballard and Ryan McBride filed the state's motion to amend or clarify the court's pre-trial and publicity order. I showed that in an earlier video. The state shares the court's commitment to protect defendants' rights. From the earlier stages of its involvement and before the court issued its publicity order, the state made efforts to protect defendants' rights to a fair trial and an impartial jury. That's bollocks. Including directing investigative agencies to comply with Utah Rules of Professional Conduct 3.6 and 3.8. The state will continue to make diligent efforts to comply with the ethical rules and direct that investigative agencies do as well. However, if the court order applies even to potential lay witnesses who are not members of the prosecution or defence teams, then it restricts the free speech rights of citizens without adequate due process and is too far-reaching and vague for the state to effectively comply with, where sanctions for non-compliance by a witness could range from mild, which we touched on this before, to be fair. On November 20th, Robinson's defence team filed an objection asking Judge Tony Graff to deny the state's motion to amend, citing it could potentially prevent witnesses from speaking, which could mean the more than 3,000 people who were at Kirk's events, which is interesting considering that the defence want these people to be able to speak. These people were there, they were boots on the ground. What did they see? What did they hear? What looked out of place? And what could they say that could potentially throw the prosecution's case into turmoil? It says it is unclear if the state's concern is that its attorneys and agents don't have the ability to control their potential lay witnesses, and that the effort to seek the death penalty may somehow be prejudiced by other agendas, or if the state is concerned that its potential lay witnesses, some of whom may be among the highest profile government officials and public pundits in the country, may be frustrated by limitations on their right to both speak extrajudicially about the matter for their own personal benefit and then participate in the trial as witnesses. All we know is that this case, Tyler Robinson is accused. He's not yet been proven to be guilty. We've got a supposed confession that is questionable at fucking best. We've got a story that don't make sense. 30-06 rifle round that would have taken Charlie Kirk's head off, seemingly stopped by Man of Steel bone fucking in his neck. Just a load of rubbish. Guns and Tyler Robinson and jumping off of roofs and limps that are there and disappear and all sorts of shit. But they are hiding in plain sight. This is the arrogance. What you're witnessing here is the arrogance of those in power. They don't even care anymore what you know and what you don't know. That it's just an absolute arrogance that this is what we want, this is what we're going to say happened, and the rest don't really matter. We'll just hide it. We'll just hide it, say you can't talk about it, you can't see it, nothing to see here, and the rest is history. That's it. Let me know what you think down below. If you look over there, look, there's both of the cats there. 1 and 2 in the chair, look. I think that's Fatty on the table. Love you all, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Mwah.